Hey guys, welcome back to another video. So in our previous lecture we learned about embedding media in our HTML files. We learned about videos, we learned how to add videos and audios in our web pages. Along with that, we also learned how to embed Google Maps in our HTML file, and also how can we link our local files into our web pages. So in our today's lecture we're going to learn about forms. So what are forms? Why do we need them in HTML? How do we create them in HTML? How do they work? What kind of tags do we need to create these forms? And also what kind of attributes do we need? So we're gonna learn all about it in today's lecture. So without wasting any further time, let's begin. So guys, as you can see, I have already created a new file. I've named it form.html and I've opened it in Google Chrome so that we can also review the outputs. So in the title, I'm going to write form, as our today's lecture is about form. So before we begin, let's talk about what kind of tags and attributes do we need in order to make a form. So one thing to note over here, guys, that form is a very extensive tag. It includes many attributes and also a lot of other tags that go into forms. So today we're going to try to cover as much as we can. So the first tag that we need in order to make a form is the tag form, but that tag is not enough to create a form. We also need another tag, and that is called input. So now let's go ahead and see how both of these tags work together to build a form. Okay guys, so the first tag that we need in order to create a form is going to be the tag form. I'm going to enter form over here, and then I'm going to create some space in between form, as this only single element is not enough to make the forms. Over here I'm going to write input. So input has two more attributes inside of it. One is type. We write it with an equals and inverted commas, and then we had name, same process, and then I close it. So guys, input is a self-closing tag. We don't really need to close it, just like HR and BR. So in the type, we basically specify what kind of data type are we about to enter, or the user is about to enter. And in the name, we basically specify that by what name you want to submit the information to the server. So for example, if I write email over here, and inside the type I will write text. We have several types of types. We have text, we have numbers, we have checkboxes, we have buttons such as reset and submit, and also we have radio buttons. So let's see how can we use all of them, but for now we will use only text over here. So in the name, I will specify by what name I want to send this information to the server. I will use username, user email, and you can basically use any name you want. This is up to you. So over here I'm gonna add another input by the name of password, as we need a password over here. So I'm gonna write an input again. The type is going to be the same, and in the name I can say user password. Let's create a button over here. For the button we only need an input tag. We don't really need to put anything before it. We can say type submit. We can give it a name called form submit, like as an app submit, and also give it a value that is going to be the same as its type, submit. I'm going to press Ctrl S. If we refresh over here, you can see we have created an email, and then we have created a password bar and a submit button. You can also bring it down by using BR if you want to indent it. As you can see, I can add BRs over here. Okay, so if I refresh, as you can see, now it looks more like a form. So we have a submit button over here. We also have our email. We can enter our email over here. As you can see, it is already suggesting me an email, a rough email, and over here I can enter my password. That can be anything, as you can see. So in the type, if I want the password to not show, if I want it in terms of dots, like whenever we enter a password in a website, it doesn't really show us the password, it shows us little dots. So how can we do that? For that, all we have to do is change the type of password, and over here if I write password, and if I save it, I'm sorry about that. If I save it and then I refresh, as you can see, if I select this and start entering my password, now you can't really see the password. So this is a lot more secure way of entering your password. All you have to do is change the type. So now that we know how to create a normal form, a very basic form, let's see what kind of other attributes do we need inside the tag form to create a form. So let's see. Okay guys, so now that we know how to create a very basic form, let's see what kind of other attributes do we need inside of the tag form. So the first attribute that I'm going to use is going to be the action. So for that I'm going to use action over here. Action comes with an equal and also inverted commas. So basically what action does is that it specifies what happens after you click the button submit. Right over here, as you can see, we have submit button. What happens, what page do you go to after clicking the submit? So as you can see, I have a folder over here. Inside of the folder I have my form and also another file that's called thanks. So if I open this file, you'll be able to see that it says thank you for submitting the form. So I'm going to close it and then I'm going to link this file to my form in such way that when you click submit, you go to this file. So I'm going to close it, and inside the action all I do is I write the name of the file. It is thanks, and the extension, that is HTML. And if I press Ctrl S, I refresh over here, and all we have to do is go to the email. I can, for example, select this. In the password we can just select this, and when I submit, I move to the page. So this is how you can link your submit button, and you can tell your form that what happens when the user clicks the submit button. You can move him to a different page, a thank you page, and everything like that. So now let's see what is the next attribute that we can use inside of the form. Okay guys, now that we know about the attribute action, let's talk about another attribute that is also used inside of the tag form. So the name of that attribute is method equals and inverted commas. So inside the method we can use two different values. One is the get method and other is the post method. So guys, the main difference between get and post is that the get method is not as secure as the post method. Post method is basically used to encrypt your data when you enter into the form. However, when you enter data in the get method, it's basically just shipped to the server as it is without any encryption. So it is not as safe as the post method. So right now let's try the get method first. Over here I will just write get and press Ctrl S. I will refresh over here. So now if I go over here and write the same email and enter the password, and if I submit, so guys, you will be able to see over here that it says username is this and user password is this. So there is basically no security, no encryption, and anyone can view your data very easily. It appears right on the URL. So if I change the method, so first of all let me remove the method. I will remove the method, the whole attribute. I will press Ctrl S. Let's repeat the same process and see now what happens. So if I again jump into here, I use this username this time, and over here I will use 1 2 3 password and submit. And now as you can see, we have the same occurrence that happened while using the method get. So basically the purpose of this, telling you this, is that the get is the default method that is being used. So even if you don't write it, it's completely fine. It's already the default value that is set by the form. So over here now let's use the other method that is called post method. So I'm going to use a method over here and we can name it post. Press Ctrl S, refresh, and if I select the username now, enter a password, submit. So now guys, you can see that our information does not appear on the URL. It is basically hidden now. It is more secure now. So this is the main difference between a post method and the get method. So now let's move on. Okay guys, so now that we know about action and method, the third attribute that we're going to use inside the form is going to be the attribute autocomplete. So let's see how it works. So if I write auto complete over here, the process is pretty much the same. You enter the equal sign and after that you enter two inverted commas. So over here I'm going to say off, and when I press Ctrl S and refresh, you will be able to see that nothing, no suggestion, nothing appears over here. So if I use the value on and press Ctrl S, refresh, now you will be able to see that it is suggesting us. So this is how you can either turn on autocomplete or turn off autocomplete in your form, which are basically according to your requirements. I hope this was clear. Now let's move on. Okay guys, so the next thing that we're going to learn is how can we make a reset button in our form. So for that I just go over here and include an input, and inside the input type I can just write reset, and in the name I can also give it the same value, or I can just say f reset as in form reset, and I press Ctrl S, and when I refresh and I go over here and type anything, for example xyz@gmail.com, and in the password I can just write anything. I've used this password, and when I reset, as you can see, all of it disappears. So this is how we can make a reset button in our form. So if we want a description box, for example, we want the user to enter some kind of details in the form. So for that we use a tag that is called text area. So this is not an attribute that we use inside of input. This is a different tag, a whole different tag. So we use a text area tag. We open it and close it. So what we need to specify in this text area are the number of rows and number of columns. If I use 5 rows and 40 columns, and I will press Ctrl S and refresh, you can see we have created a box over here, a description box in which we can enter data. Let me just quickly indent it. I can just add a BR over here, press Ctrl S, and as you can see now it looks a lot better. So over here I can basically enter any detail I want to. I can just keep on writing anything that I want. As you can see, it just keeps on going. So what basically I want to do over here is that I want to specify what kind of information do you want to enter inside of this box. It can be anything. You can give a suggestion or anything. So for that we use a tag that is called placeholder. So I'm going to add a placeholder over here, and inside the placeholder I will say, why do you need this job? So if I press Ctrl S, refresh, as you can see it appears in gray text. So if I start writing, it just disappears. So this is how you can add placeholders inside of a text area. You can also add a word limit if you want. You can add a word limit by saying over here max length, and if I say 50, so this will basically give me a word limit of 50 words. So this is how easily you can create a text area and reset button in your forms. Okay guys, so this was all for today. I really hope you enjoyed today's lecture and understood everything that we tried to learn today. So in our today's lecture we focused a lot more on what kind of attributes and tags make up a very basic form. So now that we know what kind of attributes go into the form, how can we control our form, what kind of methods can we use, and how can we also redirect our form by clicking the submit button. In the next class we will learn how can we add checkboxes, radio buttons, and a lot more to our forms, and what kind of options that HTML allow us to enter in our forms. We will try to learn about each and every other tag in the next video. So stay tuned and I will see you next time.